If you notice something is AI generated and you don't like it, scroll past. Why would you even pay attention? This energy of frustration. I can't believe someone else put ChatGPT copy on LinkedIn. Let them. I mean, if they think they will succeed with it, it's their business. Try not to let it affect you. If you put a little bit of effort in, you can build a social life here, a beautiful social life, a very happy social life. So two things are true: who you are and what's your attitude. And I see so many people complaining, but it's also because the social life doesn't come to you like maybe in other countries.
Welcome to Team Up with Beata, the podcast at the intersection of humans and AI. My guest today is Ulrike Schulz. She is a former content lead who has worked across the UK, Singapore, and Sweden, shaping stories for brands and creators. Today, she runs Visible Focus and calls herself a content therapist, helping founders simplify content and show up with clarity and confidence. Her work blends strategy, psychology, and real-world experience to make content creation feel human and sustainable. You may have noticed a gorgeous photo of Ulrike on the cover of today's podcast. And it's not accidental. For each episode, I ask my lovely guests to share a photo that carries a personal story. Ulrike's image sets the tone for our conversation about creativity, clarity, and what it means to stay human in the age of AI. She shares with us her journey from Germany to London and eventually to Stockholm, Sweden, where we both happen to live, including how she landed a job simply by posting on social media. We talk about building community for female founders, navigating content creation in the AI times, and much more. Her mindset is contagious. So, are you ready to listen and learn from Ulrike's experiences? Here we go. Hi, Ulrike. Welcome to the podcast. So nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I ask all the guests to send me a photo that resonates with them and that is a very positive story that warmed their heart. And you send me a photo that looks like you are enjoying yourself at Midsummer event here in Sweden. Is that right?
It's not right.
It's not Sweden?
But it looks like it. And at the time this photo was taken, I didn't know that I would move to Sweden one day. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's like the universe wanted to tell me, something is coming in the future, something amazing. But yeah, the photo was taken in London and I'm wearing a flower crown. That's why it looks very Swedish. But it was my own event I actually launched. I had my own brand called Secrets of Green. The whole thought behind the brand was to sell decorative items, sustainable design items with also a little bit of greenery attached. So it could be anything from picture of plants, and this was all based on psychology. In Sweden, it's kind of obvious. Spend more time in nature, and you have it at your doorstep. And there it was like London, you have to find a park or to kind of wind down. But you also could have items in your home to make you feel better and calmer. That was the whole idea behind it. So I partnered up with another brand. Actually, they were a glasses brand, sustainable glasses. And I had this launch party and it was just the most amazing thing ever. And that's why I shared this photo, because it was such a happy space and place at that moment, which was a few hours, basically. It was an evening event. And it kind of shows everything I love and stand for. And these things are being surrounded by people There were strangers as well as friends there. I could organize like a really cool event with wine and food and then some crafting. So everyone sat down at some point making their own flower crown. And it looked beautiful as well, I thought.
Wow. Yeah, it
So it
is
kind of ticked
gorgeous. It's
so many
gorgeous.
boxes. I had my own business, the freedom of creating what I wanted. The whole concept of that event was mine. And yeah, that's why I shared this photo because yeah, it was a moment of happiness for sure.
Oh, wow. Happiness that led you to Sweden in the end. Yeah, and we both share a similar background of living in London for some years.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I find it that in November in Sweden, I miss the green grass in London. So as much as there's so much nature here, I'm always like, oh, it was spring in February.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this location was also in an old church, and I just thought
Wow.
that alone was so much creativity as well. And I think it was actually co-working space. So co-working space in an old church.
And an old church, not just a
Yeah.
party place. I've been in few nightclubs in the church in London.
Yeah, like it kind
Mm,
of was a good place for the brand at the time as well, because
yeah.
where we had the party, that was basically the kind of yoga space. So they had a lot of nice classes up
Mm.
there because the windows were really big and bright. Like it was a really
Beautiful.
good room. Yeah,
Very energizing, right? With the light.
exactly. Yeah.
Very creative space. What is your earliest memory of being creative?
That's such a good question. I think I was very creative as a child, but without the memories so much. But what I was left with was that I always craved creativity, but I never felt it is my professional path, if that makes sense.
Mm.
I don't really know why, but I always thought for some reason, very subconsciously, I'm not creative enough. Although now we're talking about this, I did apply for a few things, which, showed there was an interest in creativity. I actually
Yeah.
applied for an acting school.
Oh, right.
So
Cool.
random, actually. I keep forgetting that this happened, but where you had to memorize like 3 different texts, 3 different situations. And I actually was like performing in front of a jury to get into that school. And I remember I also met this guy who was in a soap opera kind of thing in Germany. And we had a long conversation. It was really, it was such a cool day, actually. I did not get in to not spoil it,
Mm.
but I'm not an actress. But it was fun. It was a fun day, but I also only did it once. So it was not really my passion I didn't want to be an actress, but I had this idea of like, I don't know, like try it out, see what it is like. And I got some interest whilst I was doing that as well. I felt really in the moment, I really remember that. I was maybe beginning of my 20s, I guess. But yeah, and then I also applied, and I think that was kind of the same period of time. It's just before you start university. And I
Mm-hmm.
also applied for like a photography school. And I remember I had to create like a series of photographs with meaning, something. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember I was very creative with that in my humble opinion. And I remember, and I saw this recently. It's somewhere here in Stockholm. There's an exhibition, and basically, I don't know the artist, but she's like putting lots of wire around her face. And I don't know the meaning about that. But
Yeah.
I saw it and that just reminded me because I did the same thing for my photos. I did
No.
self-portrait and did
Yeah.
wires around. I have no idea what I wanted to say with that at the time. I forgot.
Yeah.
But I remember the photos and then some other photos to and I also didn't get in. But this just showed me I always had interest in creativity, but I didn't really know which direction it should go. I had always a bit of interest here and there, but not like the passion, right? I didn't go for it, which was fine. But yeah, so I think it was quite early, like teenage years. Like I always like felt it. At the end, I ended up from Germany, moving to Vienna, Austria, where I studied theater, film, and media. And it sounds quite creative, but it is more theory than practice, I would say. I ended up writing lots of essays, which, I mean, there's creativity in it as well, right? Writing, copywriting is also quite creative. And I had maybe one or two projects which were more like film related and a little bit more creative. But I feel like the real thing was when I started a blog in London.
Mm-hmm. Oh
So that
yes,
was more,
that's
yeah.
a really big breakthrough for your career. Let's unravel that a little bit more. This story is sort of how I met you, or like I got really inspired by your work, because many people these days are struggling to break through, to find a career breakthrough, or to pivot or change
Hmm.
completely what they are doing. And you decided to do something very creative, it's an understatement, something unconventional, and that got you a quite incredible results. Please do tell us, how
Yeah.
did you land this magic job in London?
Yeah, so that was it was actually initiated by something which I
Mm-hmm.
then started to try to be creative in like that space. So I applied for apprenticeships in London at advertising agencies. I applied there for an apprenticeship and they gave you tasks you had to fulfill. And one task was to create an account on Twitter, now X, and then to gain as many followers as possible, choose a topic, post, and get as many traction as you can, like likes on your posts, followers, whatever. I mean, we're talking really like over 10 years ago. So
When Twitter
nowadays
was a big deal.
it was a big deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I did that and I was like thinking, okay, let's do two in one. I'm looking for a job in London. Let's make that my topic, what I will talk about, like content wise, right? And then, yeah, let's try from there and see if I can, yeah, engage with people and also get my followers for this application. And the funny thing is, so I got maybe in the next round or so, there, I don't know, there's like 5 rounds from this advertising agency. I got maybe 2 rounds in and then I got thrown out. Okay, I was like, this is not an option for me anymore. Fine. But I really got into my Twitter account and like was like posting away a bit about me, about content or like social media in general. I shared. Then I started to get more creative and I was like, let's do a little campaign. I mean, I don't think I called it campaign in the past, but now I say it was my campaign. And I basically wanted people I met already online to engage a little bit more and support me and show that visibly. So I asked them, can you take a photo of you or, write down hashtag hire Ulrike on a piece of paper? I mean, now
Yeah.
everything is digital, but I was still thinking more like in real life.
Analog. Yeah.
Analog, exactly. And like write it down, take a picture of yourself or of the paper. People got creative with that and then send it to me. And then I put it in a Tumblr gallery. I don't know
Wow.
who's using Tumblr these
I
days.
did once for one day.
Also, also a long time ago. So I honestly, it was not that many. It was not thousands, but that didn't matter. It was like a few people. Then I don't know if that was actually before or after. I think actually before that, The Guardian discovered me. The Guardian
Mhm.
newspaper in the UK discovered me somehow on Twitter and said like, "Oh, we're seeing you're looking for a job on Twitter. Do you mind writing about it on our, online digital platform?" When the outcome wasn't sure, right? It was more like documenting the journey. And I was like, of course, you don't say no to that.
Nope.
And I started writing the first blog post just about the idea of getting a job. Then I ended up writing 3 blog posts. Then I did the campaign and wrote about that to show like people are supporting me. I also had like an interview with a guy. So things like happened basically.
Mhm.
And then my third blog post was about, I got a job. So I literally got a job through Twitter. Yay.
Woohoo!
So that was really cool because I really moved to London not knowing anyone. I had to stand out a little bit, not know really how. And I did like baby steps. What can I do to get to know people in a little bit more unconventional way? And Twitter at the time really worked for me. And then I met people. It was not so much about someone contacted me on Twitter and said, "Do you want a job?" This is not how it worked, but
No.
it was like someone introduced like this interview I got actually with this guy, and then he took me to another networking event in London with lots of social media people. Then I met the founder of this social media agency. Nothing happened, just like an introduction. And then later I wrote those Guardian posts. And then the opportunity came that they were looking for someone in the company. And then they thought of me, which is great, right? So I put myself in front of them. And then later they also said, like, introduced me. This is the girl who wrote for The Guardian. So it's kind of like,
it's great for them, right? It's
yeah.
also bragging, but not bragging.
Yeah,
We got her.
they hired someone which showed that there is something behind her which is interesting. That was like a huge lesson learned a little bit to do something differently. And honestly, it's not that easy. Because even now I'm thinking sometimes, how can I be a bit different? Yeah, it's like trying to be a bit different. I mean, we are all a little bit different, but we're not showing it sometimes.
That's true.
Our true selves online, especially. A lot of people are still a little bit scared of showing their true selves.
There's a balance, right, between the authentic and the different. How do I stand out versus how do I show up authentic.
Authentically, oh my God, I hate this word and it's so important.
Authentically, exactly. Fast forward London, big city life. I'm sure you had a lot of fun, and it's a city that creates opportunities itself. I mean, you show up like you did. You end up networking with others and finding out opportunities. But
Absolutely.
at one point, you decided, this is it. I'm moving to Sweden. And you started also a YouTube channel about life in Sweden, which is still going. I love that YouTube channel. It's so many great tips on how to be in Sweden, how to live, how to find a house, cheap house, right? I love that episode.
Yes, that's
where
one of
you're
my
showing around.
killers. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're showing around the cheapest properties in Sweden, and there are a few. um, where did the decision to move to Sweden came from, and how did you decide that YouTube is the medium that you're going with?
Yeah. So that the reason to move to Sweden was very spontaneous. I feel like I did a lot of spontaneous things in my life. Like now you can see a little thread. But my partner and I, who's British, we met in London. We wanted to move somewhere. We had also a child already, and she was maybe around 2.5. And we wanted to move out of London, UK. Two main reasons was maybe it was, well, if there was Brexit, which we were not very happy.
None of
That
us.
felt a little bit weird. And that was actually an early prediction, which is kind of like happening. And we were like, yeah, maybe other countries are, nicer. But also London was really big and loud. And, like we definitely wanted to have something a bit more calmer, getting older, right? The usual thing.
Oh, Sweden.
Yeah, Sweden. Hello. But Sweden was not on our radar, to be honest. It's
Okay.
because more of the job opportunities. So I was relatively flexible. I could have moved anywhere. My partner works in visual effects, film industry, and gaming. So that was a bit more specific. So we had to find him a job in that country first. And also then there was Brexit. So it was actually not that easy to move anymore. We were a little bit late, unfortunately. So it was not super easy to just move and then find a job kind of thing. He needed to have a job first and being sponsored. We were looking at Europe. But he was very active on LinkedIn, funny enough, because now he's not. So now I'm like more creating opportunities.
Now it's you. Yeah.
But he looked at job postings mainly on LinkedIn, and there was one in Sweden. And then it was a bit, he just went for it. He also was like, it doesn't matter, let's just do the interview, see what comes out of it. But he ended up getting that job. And then the big question was like, oh my God, should we move to Sweden? And I
Where
did
is
my,
that?
yeah, I did my research. I mean, obviously, Sweden, stuff. Plus, I had actually two friends I met in London, two independent friends. My best friends, actually, at the time, one I worked with in that social media agency, and the other one I worked as a freelancer with. So, two different backgrounds. And they moved back to Sweden as well. But I had already Swedish people,
Yeah.
around me. And they actually took me to Midsummer in London. In Hyde Park, there's a big celebration. So I was already a little bit familiar, but then I also searched, like wanted to know everything about it. And long story short, we decided to move to Sweden because it sounded quite good. And then within 3 months, we packed our stuff and we moved. So 3 months from decision to, yeah, the actual move. But the YouTube channel is funny because I actually started my YouTube channel in London, and it was about personal finance
Personal
because,
finance?
yes, personal finance, because I read a book about personal finance and it changed my life. I don't know. It's hilarious because everything which is taught is so obvious, but for some reason it was not very obvious, in life. And a personal finance means saving, how to save money, how to
Hmm.
make money, how
Hmm.
to invest money. This is kind of the
Okay.
three
So
three
things they don't
principles.
teach you at school, basically, and they
Exactly.
should. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's
Mm.
like the funny thing, everyone knows about saving money, right? Save some money. But
Hmm.
then there's actually some methods, you can do on automate things so you don't have to think about it, and percentages you can. Anyways, it was a whole new world. I was so fascinated that I was like, I need to tell people about it.
Hmm.
I started my YouTube channel talking about it, and it was fine. It was fine. It was like very normal. Like I did like 1 or 2 videos per week. I was quite consistent for like a year or so. Then I made one video about moving to Sweden because
Hmm.
I just wanted to talk about it. Although I was like, how do I tie it back to personal finance? Maybe a bit like I can rewatch it, but I think I was a bit more like, is it more expensive in Sweden or in
That's
Stockholm or
true. I
London?
mean, that's the biggest.
That is a good
Um,
topic, right?
yeah, people always
You care
assume
about.
it is. I mean, at least maybe 10 years ago it was. Now things are changing, but that's true. The Nordics do come across, or the Scandinavian countries do come across as, yeah, more expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk about this now, but I could talk a lot about like, the comparison. I mean, I
Yeah.
compare a lot to the UK because I used to live there 10 years,
Hmm.
but I also compare to Germany because that's where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
But that video, funny enough, took off and had thousands of views. And I was like, wow, this is exciting, right? You get
Yay.
excited about like some traction. And then I was like, I should pay attention to that. Then I basically did another video when we moved and kind of said, I think it was like 3 weeks in Sweden, my first impressions kind of thing. It has nothing to do with personal finance anymore. So my idea was then to do Sweden and personal finance because these are my two passions, right?
Hmm.
But at the end, all the Swedish videos took off. They were like got a lot of traction, and the personal finance were like 100 views, and that's
Yeah.
kind of it. So then I was like, okay, ditch the personal finance, just concentrate on life in Sweden because that was actually also at that time more fun again for me because I wanted to talk about my first impressions of Sweden
Mhm.
and everything I learned about it and give people the real impressions of it by
It's
talking
different when
about it.
you first move and you reflect versus. I was thinking of it recently when I met you and came across your channel. I was like, what would I even talk about? Because, being somewhere already 10 years, I would be like, no, this is common knowledge. This is common knowledge. And I think it's something
Here,
beautiful.
this is the mistake right
Is
there.
it?
Common knowledge, you will be surprised. There is no such thing as common knowledge because people forget and
Hmm.
there's so many people who actually don't know. You are like there's people who don't know Sweden and they want to know everything about Sweden, for example, maybe because they want to move to Sweden. I mean, I was the person I was looking for, if you think about
Yeah.
it. I was researching it and I was looking for, yeah, some answers like what is it like to live there? What is the school system there?
Hmm.
The social life, people are very interested. And and these things are also, I mean, there are statistics, and I even talk about statistics sometimes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's nice to hear a personal opinion. Of
Yeah.
course, it's just mine. That's why it's good that there are also others out there. But you want to hear a little bit of a personal view of like what is life in Sweden. And I could be positive, negative, real. Yeah, it's a mix of things, basically. But I think I'm actually
Mm-hmm,
quite
mm-hmm.
positive because I really like it. I like
Yeah.
living
I mean,
in
you're
Sweden.
still living in Sweden. Mm.
Exactly. But that's just the truth, my truth, and people can tune in when they want to.
Okay. What do people often misunderstand about Sweden that you like talking about?
I think, like what I discovered a little bit, there is, I mean, it's not really a misunderstanding. I feel like it's more an attitude thing because two things are true. Like there's two things people talk about the most. It's the social life, and there's a lot of complaints about here in Sweden. And both is actually true. You can have a miserable life here in Sweden if expect maybe things are coming to you. It's true. People don't just talk to you on the streets. That is just how it is here in Sweden. But it's also true that if you join a club or if you go to networking events or if you approach the parents of your children at school or if you put a little bit of effort in, you can build a social life here, a beautiful social life, a very happy social life. So two things are true. It's more like who you are and like what's your attitude. And I see so many people complaining, but it's also because the social life doesn't come to you like maybe in other countries where you just go on the street and people talk to you. And people who love that, then maybe Sweden is not the right, country for them.
That's true.
Or
That's true.
or if they are forced to move here. I mean, sometimes people move here because of their partners, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then we have our own destiny to a degree in our hands. We can create opportunities. That's what I talk a lot about. So I also create opportunities for your social life. Then there's the weather, which is the weather is funny because the weather that is very true. Like there's almost only one truth. The weather is the weather. you know,
It is
Cold
what it is.
winters, dark winters. I
Mm.
mean, to be
Gray.
fair, before I moved to Sweden, I didn't know that they had like long darkness, right? I mean, we don't even live in the north. We live in Stockholm,
Mm-hmm.
but it gets dark at 3 p.m. at some point very soon now in November, December. And so you have like shorter windows of light and sun. But that you learn about that and you that is the way. Why would you complain about it? Because you can't really change that. The funny thing is I complain sometimes as well. It's not that I never complain.
It's
But it's
human.
really hard to complain about something where you cannot change that. So with the weather, it's like really preparing yourself. You have to do things, you have to make it cozy at home or you go out and meet someone. I mean, I personally now is the perfect time. I love it so much. Everything starts to look very Christmassy, the lights
Oh,
in the dark. I mean,
yes.
only the
Let's talk about that because you are actually. I was quite shocked because I know many people that like Christmas, but they start quite early in December. But you start, was it beginning of November? You already have
yeah,
Christmas decorations?
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I saw you went with your daughter to look at Christmas decorations in the city. I mean, girl, you're another level.
But you have to make the most out of it. Like, I feel like you have to make, all my focus goes towards Christmas. I don't even think about the bad weather and the cold weather. I'm just like very focused on like the enjoyment. But the funny thing is, and that's why I love Sweden as well, I don't even feel so weird because I was not even the first one who decorated for Christmas in my neighborhood.
No, really?
Yeah. So I feel actually really good about it.
Was it
That
more
that
people than one? Was it
Yeah,
just
the
one more
sweets
neighbor?
are like
Okay.
they already decorated now. So we have end of No, not even. It was mid-November, actually. It's not even end
Mm-hmm.
of November.
Mm-hmm.
And the people have decorated already, at least outside. I mean, I can't see it inside everywhere, but outside, like all the lights, Christmassy, like it's happening. And I love that so much. I feel at home.
Christmas stars are up already. I mean, I've seen one early November in one of the neighbors' windows, and I had to quickly look away. I was thinking, no, I don't want to see it right now. But I guess you're right. It is in November. You can either think it's dark and gray, or you can start your Christmas earlier.
I mean, Stockholm started last weekend, the Christmas decoration, the lights.
Stockholm City.
They're, yeah, Stockholm City is all on now. So I think it's brilliant. Like, you honestly have to make the most out of it. And if it's dark, play with light. Like,
Of course.
there's
Yeah.
so many variations. That's also creative, I would say, you know.
Put lamps in the windows and make it cozy.
Yeah.
That's true. That's so true.
I guess.
Okay, Ulrike. So being a content creator among many things, you must have came across AI generated content. And AI generated content is everywhere. How does that make you feel as a creator?
I guess it's very individual because I realize also you have most of the people see it as an opportunity or they hate it. And there's some in between as well. But the thing is, it's a little bit with the weather in Sweden.
Okay.
It's unavoidable. It's here. It's getting better. It's not going away. Like, you can hate it, but I feel hate makes you miserable, right? So if you have all these negative feelings about something and you feel out of control, like that's when you get kind of frustrated and you worry and all these bad things. So for me, first of all, I know it's there. Am I annoyed sometimes? And actually, yesterday I saw a post about someone posted it about Sweden on Facebook, which I barely am, but I saw it where and the account is called Facts, something with facts. So it's a bit scary. So I'm talking first about something negative, but I can also tell you how I see it, right? So it was about having bread in like the bakeries put bread in like little shelves or like drawers so people can actually take it after, you know, the bakery is closed, feeding anyone who wants to, like the poor, but also anyone who wants a fresh bread. And I was like, first of all, in Stockholm, it said. And I was like, I don't know it. And then I looked at the comments as well. I was like, no, like people who live in Stockholm were like, I've never seen that, right? Then I looked at the image a bit more closer because it looked quite good, but, you know, weird. And I looked at it and you could see there's always a little detail. But maybe the details at some point will not exist. But
did people have 6 fingers or?
No, it was not that anymore. It's really, it got so much better, but you can see like there's always like something at the moment still like in images, like something blurry, something distorted, like it was like a shelf kind of thing. So when you really looked if it was an image so it was AI created for sure. So it was not true. And I was interested because I talk about these things on my YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to know if that was true. So I had to do my fact check a little bit. Like just because you see it once somewhere doesn't have to be true. So you always have to, I'm a bit more aware now. I check a little bit more. I read the comments because sometimes people know better than others. I ignore it then. There's no point in me like being really upset about it. It just drains the energy out of me. I just ignore it. And everyone is different. People could do whatever they want. They could report it, whatever, or like dwell on it and you know, say like, oh, I can't believe I looked at another piece of content which was AI generated. And in this instance, even not true, right? You can even like create images just to get your point across and they don't have to be true. But in this case, it was like affecting.
Yeah.
And I like AI because I use it as well. It makes my writing better. I can put all my thoughts in there and discuss. It helps me with focus a little bit more. So content creation, I use it even with content creation because my native language is also German and English. I'm not super great in English, but I have so much to say and I have good things to say, in my humble opinion.
I
So
love that.
I want to get this point across, and actually AI helps me a lot to focus on the core message I want to come across. So I use it. But at the same time, I feel like it's my opinion, it's my thoughts. So I feel quite confident in sharing that because it still feels like me. For example, I don't use it for video right now. I only make videos with myself. But when it comes to writing, I use it to sound a little bit better. But you can do also video, right? So we are here. And I thought a little bit about it. But the thing is, of course, people will use it, and in some instances, it will also work. But I'm a lot about personal branding, and that means like people need to get to know you. People don't only want your knowledge, they want actually a little bit, you, like, who are you? What is your opinion? For example, I would say I'm quite a positive person. So I think I could light up people's days a little bit by talking about certain things, and giving them different perspectives. And I see sometimes on my YouTube channel as well, I talk about certain things about Sweden, and then people comment sometimes saying like, I've never really seen that it is so beautiful, like that aspects. And I was born here in Sweden, for example. So I feel like you connect the best with people, and you just use AI as a tool. Like you use it maybe for some editing, or to make your point a bit more across better, or to kind of build like systems. But there's a lot of human, which in my opinion factors in. I have been frustrated many times trying to get something out of AI which they could not deliver because they could not grasp the idea. And if you talk to a human, there's still such a big difference. And I think also people will crave more human. Maybe it's a good thing, actually, if you think about it. AI really shows us a little bit what's important in this world. Like when you read AI stuff, you get sometimes fed up if it's really obvious, right? And you're like, I'm not interested in that. Now the awareness comes to you where you say, I'm actually interested in real people, right? I want to follow more real people, listen to more people, see more real people in videos. And I think this is where you can also have your advantage, where if you show up online and offline, you show up as yourself and you build your little tribe. And I come from a content perspective, building communities and audiences, and you don't need the whole world, basically. You can have just your little corner of the internet, creating with the different aspects you can bring to the table.
Yeah, that's true. Physical, in person or digital, right?
Yeah.
Both sides work. And you wouldn't want to be the AI generated Ulrike on the community meetup online, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it's happening, and I saw like big creators talking about that, and they're very excited about it. And I get it. And they have so many followers that maybe a part of it will still follow the AI version, but I still doubt it. And we're talking still about more the prediction of it, right? Because it's not there yet. It's not proven. And if one person proves it, also it's not proven that it works, that everyone can create an avatar of themselves and then people follow your avatar. It's a bit of a dream. And if you have a big following, then it maybe works a little bit better because they already got to know the human version of you. And then they can continue and have maybe a bit more intimate kind of, in quote, intimate like conversations with your avatar, because your avatar can talk to everyone in person. And some people will fall for it for sure, because we have all different levels of like understanding. And sometimes we are damaged and traumatized. So talking to an avatar makes us feel good. It's a half reality, and that's good enough for some people,
But you can shut down the avatar any moment when you don't feel like
that also. That
I had enough.
You're in control. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, there will be all sorts of people for sure.
Yeah. You are also very active in LinkedIn as much as you are on YouTube. A lot of people these days avoid posting on LinkedIn because it feels full of generic chat GPT stuff. What would you tell someone who feels like this, who feels quite disencouraged by that?
What would I say? So first of all, this sounds a bit harsh, but I think you're thinking too much about yourself in terms of how things make you feel. I mean, it's controversial because I think you should think about yourself and the benefits and opportunities. But in this case, you're thinking too much about how someone affects you, or you let someone affect you that way, by you reading that. If you notice something is AI generated and you don't like it, scroll past. Why would you even pay attention? And like, again, this energy of frustration, maybe, I can't believe someone else put ChatGPT copy on LinkedIn. Let them, I mean, if they think they will succeed with it, it's their business. Try not to let it affect you. And I get it. Sometimes you maybe get that because someone you follow likes it, right? You get like second-hand kind of posts. But normally you can also, if it's someone you follow, you can unfollow them so you don't see that kind of post anymore. If that's maybe your issue and you want to take some kind of action, then try not to follow these kind of people. Find the people you actually enjoy, and you can follow them or connect with them. And you can also have this little bell up there when every time they post, you get that kind of piece of content, the new ones. So you can actually really have a say in it. And then on the other side, when I said like, okay, this is basically you're thinking too much about yourself, like step back and ignore the things you don't like. But on the other side, you really have to think about yourself and what's beneficial to you. What do you want to achieve maybe when you post? Because you get the visibility from other people, and you can be anything you want on LinkedIn. You can be an example and not create ChatGPT content. You will probably find enough people who enjoy that part, and then you actually contribute to the other side. You can think that way, where it's like, well, I'm the one who's not ChatGPT. I write how I want, and then I'm the opposite force, and then if you want to see more content on LinkedIn, which is not created by ChatGPT, start with you. Start with yourself, that you can put content out there in your own voice. And then again, it is the opportunity you create for yourself to connect with yourself.
I love this. I mean,
people.
all that you said. Yeah, it's spot on, everyone. Go back a few minutes and listen to this moment again. Well said, Ulrike. So let's scroll back a little bit to the content that creates opportunities that we talked about. That's something that you created. You created opportunities through creating content. What would you advise to a person that, let's say, works in tech, or anyone that is out there on LinkedIn and it's just looking past millions of content, not even a ChatGPT generated? Perhaps they're looking for a job, or they're looking for an opportunity to be a speaker. They're looking for an opportunity to just, share their wisdom, or a book they wrote, or anything. How would you approach it? How would you tell them? Maybe you have some steps we can follow, or how would you approach it if you were that person, if you are not the lovely self that you are right now, that already accomplished that?
I think there are a few steps for sure. The first one, which I feel is almost the most important one, is to find out a little bit your why. Why would I want to post? And there's different aspects. There is the broader picture. For example, all the things you mentioned, if I show up consistently, and that can be your own kind of system. It could be once a week, twice a week, whatever. As long as you do it consistently, you kind of like create the opportunity to be seen, to be visible. And that could apply for anyone who is looking for a job, anyone who's starting their own business, who's a freelancer, whatever it is. Start being seen, and then you can share, and then it goes in the nitty-gritty of like what to share. But before that, it's really, why would I want to show up the next 5 years on a consistent basis? I like to really think ahead, because the world with AI is going to be even more difficult for sure. So we have to find a way to tell people who we are. And we already see that now with the jobs. How do you distinguish yourself from others? Because the normal way in the past was, even before the Twitter thing as well, or even during that era, you sent a CV, and a cover letter. This is like the process, right? And that basically gives you an opportunity to be seen in front of a recruiter, for example. Nowadays, there's more people applying for a job. That's the numbers game is already a thing. And then your CV looks a lot like other CVs sometimes. It's just the truth. But how you can actually stand out is to be visible online, for example. I mean, for me, I also got hired because of The Guardian, which I created through content, basically, right? This opportunity. Did I predict that? Never, ever. Like, I could not guide this process and say, like, I'm going to show up and then The Guardian will just discover me. I mean, I barely knew about The Guardian at the time because I also just moved to London. So it is really to be seen and visible and to create opportunities you are maybe not aware of yet. But when it also comes to jobs, people nowadays will look on LinkedIn for sure. Like, that's a given. That's 100%. And how can you then be different from your CV and in your cover letter? Like, this is the number one thing you can actually do on LinkedIn, is to put yourself out there and talk about your expertise. It doesn't always have to be like how to or something to show your expertise, but it can be a lot of things like your perspective on things, for example, your perspective on AI and XYZ, whatever it is in the tech space, your perspective on creativity, right now or in the future. Like, there's so many things. I mean, thoughts you can share like nonstop, but then you can also share what's going on in your industry, for example. So there's a lot of things you can share on LinkedIn. And I'm even an advocate for sharing your story a little bit. Like, we're getting older and older. That means we have actually quite a few stories to tell. The Twitter story or the Secrets of Green when I had my business and the launch party. Like, there's so many things I can actually share. And I think people would be quite interested in hearing these little stories from someone. This is how you also get to know someone. And again, we are very on the human part again. And when I know someone, you can feel it in your heart. Like, it's not just a face. It's then you know something about them and you're already a little bit connected with them. And even as a recruiter, you have the same thing. If you read something, so you have your CV, then you look on LinkedIn and you read something they shared. And you should not be afraid of like sharing your thoughts either, because I have heard this is also a little bit of a barrier sometimes, but what do people think when I share this?
Or what will my manager think? Often people, right?
Yeah.
Would my manager think that I'm working or just posting?
Oh yeah, this is another thing. But this is I mean, I'm all about transparency, and I actually have talked with people before that who expressed that concern, is to talk to the manager and say, I wouldn't even ask necessarily, but just say, if I haven't posted before, I'm like, I am going to post on LinkedIn regularly. I will do that during my time at home because I can actually schedule posts. So, maybe the manager doesn't know, right?
Actually, you'd be surprised how many people don't know that you can schedule things.
Yeah, exactly.
These days.
It's not super obvious, I have to say, on LinkedIn.
I mean, if you've never made one post, then you wouldn't be able to see that
Exactly.
feature.
There's definitely quite a bit to learn about LinkedIn if you have never posted, for sure. But I would be very transparent and saying this. It will not interfere with my work. I will share thoughts about it. So it's good maybe to have a little bit of a direction. So you can tell your manager, it will be about my work, but more about my thoughts or whatever, or the industry or whatever you want to say. I mean, you can say like it will be nothing about secret projects we're working on if you have a manager like that and you need to preempt, right? But it's your LinkedIn. They don't own you, It's very rare that this is in a contract. Do not post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, but double check if that's the case.
Yeah,
right?
if that's the case, you obviously have to find a different way. But LinkedIn is not the only social media channel we have. So.
Yeah, that's true. Should we do a little challenge for those who have never posted? What would we want and when would we want someone to post? I'm looking for a topic that is easy and maybe people can tag you, tag me, or the podcast, or not even if you don't feel like it, but you can say I was inspired by Ulrike and I felt like I'm going to make my first post. What should we? I'm just thinking now, surprisingly, what could we make people post?
I know exactly what they should post. An introduction. This
An
is actually one
introduction.
of the best posts ever because it makes so much sense if they haven't posted in a long time or at all to just kind of reintroduce yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be anything from like, it can be a bit fun as well. If they work somewhere, they can say like, I work as a blah, 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 if they want to, because we always want to talk about what we do as well professionally, and it makes sense on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can share a little bit about what you like at your job, or you can talk about your past, what you have done. You can talk about what's on your mind now, what is your interest, maybe
Mm-hmm.
within your industry. Like you can go sometimes deeper. By the way, this post also doesn't have to be super long. I'm just putting some ideas out there, and you just pick one or two, right, to
Mm-hmm.
mention in that post. And you can also talk a little bit. I don't want to use the word, well, something personal. For you don't have to do something embarrassing or whatever. You know, there's obviously so many levels of being personal, right?
Mm.
But you can say something like, I moved to Sweden 4.5 years ago with my family. Then you can also say something about Sweden if you want to. There's so many aspects you can actually choose. And I like the combination of sometimes, oh, what do you do professionally? Who are you actually?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you
Okay.
actually not thinking about your professional life, have
Mm-hmm.
one or two lines about what you're interested in. It could be anything, the type of music you love, going to the theater, maybe type of recommendation if you want to, right? If it makes you feel awkward or something.
Mm.
And here's the biggest dare: post a photo
Oh, I was about
of
to ask,
yourself.
do I need to post a photo? And you're like,
Well,
yes.
here's the thing. You can do a lot of different things. So
Okay.
it could be a headshot, right? Where you really
Mm-hmm.
see yourself. You could show yourself standing somewhere, but you
Mm-hmm.
also can show yourself from behind, you know, it's like looking in the window, or you know, someone can snap a photo of you're standing getting your bakery item, you know, like
Yeah.
whatever, but it doesn't have
How
to
are you
be,
working or
yeah,
coding
you're
or yeah.
working, exactly. You can also do in a group if that's something you like, having the consent of the others, of course. It doesn't have to be like your face in everyone's face, which I actually do, because the good thing about it is it makes you very memorable as well. Your face is also very unique, you know, or your whole body with your face is also very
Mm.
unique. And when people see a post with a picture like with you, it's a very unique post. It's very hard to AI generate that, right? So that's why
Yeah.
I recommend to post a picture of yourself, because it's also very proven
Yeah.
on LinkedIn that this is the most successful kind of post when you have a picture of you, for example.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, it doesn't have to be like we are looking right now, you know, you see our faces very clearly. It
Mm.
can be in a setting, you sitting somewhere, you sitting at your desktop or whatever it is. But yeah, that's a bigger dare, I guess. It's
Yeah.
maybe even more
Let's do it.
difficult than writing something. But yeah,
Yeah,
and
let's do
tag
it.
us.
Maybe why not? I'm gonna do it too.
Yes.
Why not? Let's do a challenge that we all can participate. I'm not just going to throw it at you there and then not participate. I'm going to be the first one to do it. But I was I was laughing because I was thinking, what if someone has an identical twin? You say they are very unique, and this person listening is like, oh no, how would I know if it's me or my brother?
I know, but I find that even more unique. I mean,
Yeah,
that's even cooler. I would
milk
love to
it.
have
Yeah,
someone who looks like me. And people create content around that a lot as well.
yeah.
I remember I had a colleague. I didn't know at the beginning she was a twin, but she has a sister who looks exactly the same. I mean, little differences, right?
Mm,
When you
mm,
know them. But and they basically made they created content around being twins, right? And they did a lot of, I mean, their thing was more like fashion, I think, and
mhm.
going somewhere together in London or going on holiday together. But it's always those two faces. I mean, that you remember even more, seeing two of the same
Two of the
faces.
same.
Obviously, you can use your brother or sister to pose for
Mm,
you if you if you
yeah,
feel I can't show my face, but then yeah, it's
that's
funny.
true.
It's very
Um,
meta.
Yeah, so that's it. Challenge accepted. We are going to do it, right? I'm not, of course, forcing anyone, but I think it's a little nudge. And if you're looking for inspiration, of course, Ulrike's profile on LinkedIn, it's one to go to and perhaps look at the photo and think, okay, or the post that you created. But I
Yeah.
really think that introducing yourself, that's going to be a hit. What are you excited to create next? I know that you're already in process of building a community. Would you like to unpack that a little bit more with us?
Absolutely. I think also a great opportunity is to build more connections and to build them in real life. I see a big opportunity now with AI that people are craving more the opposite of not being surrounded by AI all the time, but actually meeting in real life people and putting effort in doing so. So I started a community for female founders and solopreneurs. It's called Found Hers Stockholm, like STHLM. And the goal with that is to meet at least once a month. So I just started, but it starts with once a month in real life to get to know each other and especially share all these moments you have when you work for yourself, you know, the struggles, and sometimes you just need a little bit of knowing that some people feel the same and like have maybe the same struggles. And it's not always necessarily about the solution. It's sometimes just finding like-minded people and knowing you're not alone in this. I created that because of my YouTube channel. So it all comes together, right? For me, at least. What I missed a little bit is to have quite an international community, but I'm also saying like Swedish and internationals. So addressing a little bit the concern people have. There are quite international events, but not so much where you actually also have the opportunity to get to know Swedish people. So it's a bit of a taking that concern in, I heard, and like putting it all together. And I'm really excited actually about learning from Swedish female founders and mixing with people from all over the world and creating a quite unique community here in Stockholm. And and enjoy a bit the real life. And of course it will have also online presence, because it doesn't have to mean it's excluded, because we can't meet every day. You know, it's nice to then also stay in touch online. So I'm working on that as well, to have just a good connection between the online and the offline world.
Where can people sign up to attend the community where they can find
Yeah,
Found Hers?
that's a good question. So it's very new. So there is, the best thing I feel is to follow me on LinkedIn, Ulrike Schulz. But then also I have a company page basically called Found Hers. But I will also see that there will be a website, which there is not right now. There's an Instagram. There's actually an Instagram account, which is also very new.
And where can people connect with your lovely self, and where they can follow your wisdom and learn from you? What's the best way?
I love that description. The best way is definitely LinkedIn, because I'm also very active. You can always connect with me there. It's Ulrike Schulz. You should find me, or Julie Schulz in the URL. And then if you are interested in life in Sweden, there is my YouTube channel. It's called Living Swedish. So Living Swedish.
Living Swedish.
Yeah. You definitely can check it out if you're interested in that. And I see comments there. You can definitely get in touch with me through social media channels, basically, LinkedIn, YouTube.
Ulrike, thank you so much. This was amazing. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. Hopefully one day again. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you. It was so much fun to talk about things. And I love that when we talk, that sometimes old memories come up, like, oh yeah, I've done this and that. And I love that. Like, that's why human interaction is so lovely, because it really inspires you.